All right, we have now arrived at the last item of business before us, and this is the Town Board referral for review and report, the revised proposed local law amending zoning district maps in the matter of the boundaries of the mining overlay MIO district. I'm going to ask Art at this point, since he is most familiar with the revisions, to review those with us, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
And I felt there was no better way for me to sort through what is happening here than to actually excerpt for you in my notes the purpose and intent statement that's within the law. And let's just focus on that first, verbatim. The purpose and intent of this local law is to prohibit the establishment of large-scale mining activities within the current mining overlay district. Purpose and intent of this local law is also to, 1, scale back the present mining overlay district boundaries as set forth in the zoning law to boundaries which are equivalent to the boundaries of the approved mining permits and mine land reclamation plans issued to properties within the overlay district by DEC at the time of enactment of this local law. 2, to adjust the boundaries of the mining overlay district to ensure that the boundaries of those mines which have received mining permits from DEC are consistent with the boundaries of the mining permits and mine land reclamation plans and the boundaries issued and approved by DEC. And 3, to ensure that those mines which have received DEC mining permits and special use permits pursuant to the provisions of the town zoning law by the time of the enactment of this local law are considered to be conforming uses, but only to the extent of the currently approved boundaries of those mines. And the purpose goes on to state, or the intent goes on to state, it is not the intent of this local law to eliminate or otherwise improperly interfere with the rights of those property owners in the town of Rhinebeck who have obtained and or operating gravel mines pursuant to valid DEC mining permits and special use permits issued by the town to continue to operate those mines in accordance with the terms and conditions of these permits. It is not the intent of this local law to prohibit or interfere with the rights of those property owners who have already received DEC mining permits and special permits from the town for the operation of the gravel mines on their properties from asserting that they have valid, non-conforming vested rights that entitle them to expand their existing gravel mines to areas of their property which had not, at the time of the enactment of local law, received DEC and special use permits for such activities. However, it is the intent of this local law that property owners asserting such rights shall make the necessary applications to the town of Rhinebeck zoning enforcement officer and, if necessary, to the town zoning board of appeals, and to provide the proof as required by law to support their claim of a valid non-conforming use as an exhaustion of their administrative remedies before otherwise asserting such rights. It is not the intent of this local law to prohibit or interfere with the rights of property owners to petition the town board to amend the zoning law pursuant to the provisions of Article 12 of the Town Code to permit the conduct of gravel mining on portions of their property not within the MIO district as provided for in this local law, recognizing that consideration of such a petition for amendment shall be deemed a legislative act pursuant to the provisions of 125 to 131 of the Town Code. The intent purpose clause goes on to further cite the consistency of the proposed local law with the town comprehensive plan and of the documents, including green plan. Not green plan, but the Greenway Compact. And then, so the bottom line is that in a much more clearer fashion than the initial version of the law, the purpose and intent, the limits, essentially, of this local law are now well-defined. The local law has been greatly shortened and I think in the eyes of most people clarified, made easier to read, easier to understand. The actions that are being taken in terms of what's happening to the amendment of the zoning district boundaries remain the same as they were previously proposed, and those are summarized here at the end. The zoning district map is amended to change the boundaries of the MIO district as described. The notation on the zoning district map, the current notation regarding the soil mining overlay not being applicable to any land within 200 feet of a property boundary, is omitted because the boundaries are now made to be coincident with the boundaries of the approved mining plans that have been approved by DEC and the planning board. And zoning district maps amended
Now, is
to...
that approved by the DEC or
No,
that
and-
would be
no.
approved by the DEC?
No, approved by both the DEC, subject to DEC approval, existing DEC approval, and special permit issuance by the town prior to the time or at the time of the
Existing
adoption of this local.
DEC approval.
Right, Joe? At the time of adoption of the local law.
Art, can I ask you what the official designation of large-scale mining operation is?
Mining, it's basically mining. Basically, soil mining is defined in the law. What is it, anything other than a agricultural exception of less than 1,000 tons or 1,000 yards, whichever what happens to be, is mining under the zoning law.
I think he
And
was
any-
asking if there's a distinction between large-scale mining and small-scale mining.
Your purpose and intent, it says the
Well,
purpose and intent is
that's
local.
not my purpose of intent, it's the purpose of the intent as drafted by the town attorney and introduced by the town board.
Okay, do they have a designation of what constitutes a large-scale mining operation?
I believe it's anything that constitutes mining or major excavation under the town zoning law. And the only exception then would be the agricultural exception of, like I say, it's 1,000 tons or 1,000 cubic yards within a given year. Anything else is subject to the mining provisions.
Okay.
Other questions?
So the board on the prior version of the law, which in substance was really the same, but I think much simpler explained at this point in time. Board's prior position was to take no action, was to not issue a report. If you recall, the report I had drafted for consideration by the planning board was then ultimately adopted by the Conservation Board as its report to the town board. The board elected to take no action under the terms of the, well, let's face it, the board can do one of three things now. It could recommend approval of the local law by the town board, or the adoption by the town board. It could recommend the town board not adopt, or it could, again, issue no report. The interesting thing is that the issuance of no report under the terms of the town zoning code is in fact a recommendation of approval.
So silence is consent? Silence means consent.
That's
By default.
as the code is written.
And you said recommendation either way. What weight does that recommendation carry?
It carries no weight in terms of, I'm not going to say it carries no weight. It doesn't carry the same type of weight as a recommendation from county planning, as a for instance. A recommendation from county planning, in order to be overridden by the town board, requires, or even the planning board requires a majority plus one. A recommendation from the local planning board does not require a majority plus one.
So we just raise the bar slightly for them to
That's
do what they want to do.
That's right. But it does not trigger a majority plus one requirement.
And did the county not already declare it a matter of local concern?
I'm not aware.
My sense is that they did, because I remember the discussion revolving around the supermajority.
Yes, that was not required.
That's not required.
That's correct. They had, that's true, and you're talking about the private. They made some comment about the law, but did not make a recommendation of denial or anything of that sort.
Correct.
Primarily because they want to stay out of the lawsuit. It's very interesting how it is not the intent, it is over and over and over again. I certainly will not support this. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody here. I think this could have been handled very differently. I think it comes down to a very basic right of property owners in Rhinebeck. You have someone who's set up and the gun is cocked and they're ready to go, and they're getting the rug pulled out from underneath them. They did everything right.
How are they getting the rug pulled out from under them?
This is going to affect the mining operation that
How?
was proposed up there.
How?
they will not be able to expand where they wanted to expand.
But I think, aren't there a number of ways in here indicating how
Oh,
they
yeah, they're
can
going
go?
to go to the town zoning board, and they're going to file an
But-
appeal
but that
for
has-
variance.
but that
And I'm
has-
sure they're going to say, oh, yes, sure you can.
But we've
Yeah.
seen that happen before.
Look, we all know that you'd have to be completely idiotic and living in another state if you're going to think for 1 second that this company is going to get a variance from the zoning board. It's not going to happen. So it looks great, and looks all flowery, but it is not the intent of this local law. It's listed 5 or 6 times here. Why is it listed? It's because we're trying to cover our ass. And that's not acceptable to me. So that's why I'll say no.
How do others wish to proceed? You want to continue to discuss it? Do you want to move directly to?
No, I think we ought to discuss it a little bit.
All right.
Richard and I don't agree on a lot of things, but I completely agree with his position on, no, I don't think it's the right thing. I think these property owners bought that property with the plan to have a mine there, and yes, they're going to have a mine. There's a mine there now. It's this big as opposed to that big. I believe they have the right, and this is an after the fact, I think they have the right to mine their land within constraints that we as a planning board and do, and I'm talking about the biggest thing is people talk about the trucks and the monster this and the monster that and the monster this. I believe they have the right. And I think the sad thing about it is there's basically 3 corporations involved, as I understand it. These corporations, the last I understood, have told the town of Rhinebeck that they can't even buy the materials from them anymore. So that therefore, the town is going to put a law in effect that's going to cost the town and taxpayers more money than it's currently would have had this mining been approved, because now they have to go to Hudson to get their sand and gravel. I will not vote for it. I will vote against it. Last time I abstained. I am not going to abstain this time. I'm going to vote against it.
Jesse?
I think if we were gonna, if they wanted to address the mining, they should have done it back when we did the comprehensive
I
plan.
concur.
So I don't think, I can't support this either.
Eric?
I wasn't here when this started through. I've heard some feedback from other people in the area, but I have to agree with what's been said here. If, you know, these people bought their property with the expectation of running a mine, if there was a mine on it already, to shut them down at this point doesn't seem right to me.
Karen?
Actually, I abstained last time. I support it this time. Everything is spelled out very clearly in there so that there is resources, or not resources, like it's 10 o'clock, I can't think, but there are ways that they can do it. You know, I have nothing against mining, but there's a difference between a small-scale mine and something that looks like up in Elizaville.
Well, that's what they didn't say what a large-scale mine is. If they had a designation of it, you know, I come to some conclusion about it, but they just say any kind of mining, it just doesn't seem,
Well, no.
seems quite a
the-
restriction.
They're restricted to what they have permits for now.
With no expansion.
With no automatic expansion, with the need to go back and ask for the ability to expand. I can support it because, unlike Richard, I do feel there are ways that these mining interests can properly request. I don't see it as eliminating business. I don't see it as shutting them down, because I think the proposed law allows opportunities and ways that can happen. But certainly, all that being said,
It offers possibilities, but no, I mean, it's all application and sort of
absolutely.
begging for the use.
But I'm not sure it's begging for the
That's
use.
Well, application
Begging
means
for the
begging.
use.
I think the application process is an appropriate process and one by which we move forward development in the town. So I'm sorry if people feel it's begging, but that being said, as I read the tenor of the meeting, if those of you who are not in support of this, you would have to bring forward a motion. I mean, I can bring forward a motion to support this and have a vote, but that's, we have to vote to approve, and bring a recommendation forward. We need a motion to not approve and bring no recommendation forward, or we need a motion to take no action.
I will give you a motion that says I disapprove, the town planning board disapproves of this law as written, and whatever magic words are to go around it.
I second it.
All right, I'm going to poll the board. Jesse?
I support, it would be an aye vote to support the motion.
As I think I follow it, you are voting yes to support the motion.
You're recommending town board disapproval of the
Yep, all right, aye.
That's correct.
So you have the motion. Do we, you're seconding it?
No, I seconded it.
Seconded, okay.
I voted aye.
And Woody?
Aye.
Robert? Richard?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Sharon?
Nay.
Nay. The ayes have it.
Now that you've done that, I just, for your information, soil mining is 800 cubic, anything in excess of 800 cubic yards or 1,000 tons in a calendar year.
800 cubic
Yeah,
yards.
it's 800 or 1,000 tons, by definition.
So,
Yeah.
any commercial mining.
Anything beyond that is considered an extractive operation, which is the regulated activity.
Right.
Extractive operation, AKA soil mining.
Okay. I think that
If
concludes.
there are no further, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging in. I know it was a very long meeting. I appreciate it.
It's not midnight.